Just 2 weeks ago, social media platforms were flooded with reports describing what researchers termed as a chimpanzee civil war. To better understand the situation, NTV visited Kibale Forest National Park for an in-depth look at the so-called chimpanzee civil war. The team spent nearly 1.5 hours tracking the chimpanzees before reaching one of their communities where they observed their way of life, social behavior, and how they interact and live together in groups. According to researchers who have monitored the group for years, the once united Ngongo community, which previously consisted of nearly 200 chimpanzees, gradually split into two rival factions, the Western group and the Central group. The division is believed to have started around 2015 and has since evolved into a prolonged and deadly conflict. Scientists attribute the breakup to a combination of factors, including the unusually large size of the community, the death of influential elder males, shifts in alpha leadership, and a respiratory disease outbreak that weakened long-standing social bonds within the group. In execution of the violence, the Western faction is said to conduct organized patrols along territorial borders before launching calculated attacks on rival chimpanzees from the Central group. These ambushes often target adult males and even infants in what scientists describe as tactics that closely resemble human warfare.
So the community is headed by the alpha male, and we are happy to meet the alpha male of this community. That's why you see the chimps are active, because the boss is around. So him as president of the community, he has to make sure everyone is safe within the community, and different communities do not meet, and they live in a defined territory. So sometimes it's the responsibility for the alpha male to make some border patrols with the rest of the community members. And what will happen is that he will give a communication to most of the community members that, guys, we are going for a border patrol. And in this activity, he's the one who commands. He moves to the front, and these guys move in a single file, one following another. And why they do that is to make sure that each and everyone participates in this border patrol. If it so happens that they are on border patrol and it happens that one community meets another different community, it's a very brutal fight, which is called inter-community aggression. And it happens that some individuals are killed, and if one community is stronger than the other, then they will kill a few males.
Experts say the attacks are usually one-sided, with larger groups overwhelming isolated rivals in coordinated assaults aimed at weakening the opposition faction and expanding territorial control.
And why most of the times it's males is that males are the ones who command the fight. And in case one community kills males, then the balls are plucked off and they tear him in two pieces to confirm he is dead. And if it so happens that one of the communities capture babies from another community, then the babies are killed and they eat the babies up. And that is what they can term as civil war, which can happen as one of the social behaviors that is within these individuals within the community.
Males are not, you may know that chimps are philopatric. The males are philopatric, meaning they never move from one community to another. Once you move from one community to another, you're either killed, and in most cases, you don't survive. But females are at legib. They can always move from one community to another, and mostly at adolescent stage. So when we see these divisions happen, what happened is once these divisions were coming up, males started crossing, were always killed. So we then knew that now a transmission is happening.
Since the conflict began in 2015, reports indicate that nearly 24 chimpanzees have lost their lives in the violence. The Uganda Wildlife Authority, which oversees wildlife conservation in Uganda, says such behavior, though disturbing to witness, is natural among chimpanzee societies, with chimpanzees sharing approximately 98.9% of their DNA with humans. Unlike human communities, they are capable of forming alliances, competing for power, defending territory, and engaging in conflict.
It's about to, especially when individuals form communities and live in groups. So over time, these individuals or communities start exploring different areas of the habitat. So with the time, intra-group interactions become very, very, very close, as inter-community interactions become less and less. So the less these inter-community interactions become, the more the individuals within a community start looking at themselves as one distinct family, different from the rest of the family. So when they interact over certain resources, like I said, space, water, food, and the rest, then you expect that conflict sometimes can actually occur.
Despite the violence, the rare phenomenon has also drawn increased international interest in chimpanzee behavior and primate research. Tourists, conservationists, and researchers have increasingly flocked to Kibale Forest National Park to better understand the complex social dynamics behind one of the most unusual chimpanzee conflicts ever documented in the wild.
Yes, you're saying there are no effects, but you need to look at the term, the sum total. And when I talk about the sum total, you are looking at how is the performance of the population. Is it stunted? Is it lowering? Or it is actually increasing? If it is increasing, generally and in ecological terms, you say the population is performing well. Okay, so there's no net negative effect. On the contrary, we see positive results because the population continues to increase. We see the tourist numbers continuing to increase. We see the revenue generated from the tourism for the same chimpanzee trekking, for example, increasing. So yes, there are those minor ones, but I think they are not significant enough to cause an alarm.
After trekking for close to 1.5 hours here at Kibale Forest National Park, I managed to see these chimpanzees physically, how they move, how they relate, and how they communicate. And one of the key aspects I discovered is the socialism in them, the mode in which they communicate on how they are hungry, how they are seeking for food, and how they need to socialize. Personally, I've not witnessed a civil war, but that does not dismiss the fact that it can happen, as we were told by the Uganda Wildlife Authority. Just like any other community is bound to, live in peace and harmony, but also have characters of conflict. David Ijo, NTV at Kibale Forest National Park.